Hey, what's going on YouTube? Silver Surfer coming your way here with the video that I wanted to share with you guys for quite some time. I just wanted to wait till I completed my set. And so this is going to be a couple of part video here as it's super, I want to talk about some things here. And I tried to film it earlier. It was well over the YouTube limit per video. So I'll probably do at least a two-part video on this one to talk about the large size notes. So anyhow, go and look back at the link below to see kind of why I started collecting currency and a little bit of back history on collecting currency in general and how it came about and what my goals and intentions are. Just to reiterate, I'd like to put together a Washington type portrait set of one of the each types of the bills that George Washington was on. And so that's what I got here. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and take a look. So the first note that I got, as you guys can see, is an 1869 legal tender. This bill here is deemed a rainbow note for its beautiful greenish, reddish, and on an uncirculated one you see some blue tinge coming down here as well. It's 1869 series. It's a legal tender, so meaning there's no metallurgic backing whatsoever for this note, besides a federal government promise. Printed during the time after the Civil War, to help fund a lot of the expenses and stuff that was, incurred from that war. You got Washington portrait there in the middle. It says United States will pay to the bearer on demand $1. And then you have the vignette here of Christopher Columbus setting sail for the Americas, a popular vignette that was used quite a few times in currency on different denominations. I think this one was printed, the 1, the 2, the 5, 10, and 20 and the 50, I want to say. Maybe not up to the 50, but definitely up to the $20 bill. They had different presidents on it and vignettes and stuff like that. But a fascinating note to think that this thing, 1869, 100 plus years old, is just so cool to me. And it still survived. The paper was super thin. Still the same paper company that prints our currency today. And all my notes, like I said, are graded around the VF to high or fine range. If it's a more expensive note, such as this case here, then I went with the higher fine range. But, if this is a 2017 $1 bill, you'd see that the wear on the edges here would be deemed definitely an edge damage. But they're a lot more lenient on the notes back then because the paper was very thin. And so, it was easier to be folded and damaged and stuff like that. So anyhow, one of my favorite notes I have here. Won it at Heritage Auction. Didn't think this is a final note I needed before I made this video to complete the set. And I didn't think that I was going to go for that much, but it did. And that's okay. You don't see these ones in this grade problem-free very often, that's for sure. And if you do, you're gonna spend a pretty penny on it. All right, moving down is a 1917 series. Again, a legal tender. You probably notice a very similar difference between, or a very similarity between that one, the 69, and this one, and that is in fact the case. A popular note as well, being the sawhorse note for the reverse designs. I'll show you guys here in a minute. But they're 1874, 75, 78, and 80. There was 74 was the first year that they printed it in this design, with little differences. The seal was over here covering the $1, and a couple of other minute differences. But I didn't feel that I needed to pick all those up because I'd spend well over my budget doing such a thing, and it's very similar, and the backs are all the same too. So I went with the 1917, which is the cheapest version. I only paid 65 bucks for this thing, guys, so can't complain. I skimped a little bit on the price. You can get a nice, XF40, 45 for $160, $170. But I wanted to save a little bit of money to buy some other things and for this series, so that's what I did. Again, same vignette of the Pilgrims of Christopher Columbus, George Washington in the middle. Same act over there, March 3rd, 1863, Legal Tender Act. And these are a little bit out of date by the time that they ended up finishing printing them. You're talking, this was, quite antique in the 20s and 30s, which these things were printed all the way up until. So there's the sawhorse design of the carpentry tools here, which is where it got its nickname. Pretty ornate as well. There's the different counterfeiting clauses, which they were very serious about back then, and still are. This one was printed, as you guys can see, at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which still prints our currency today, and I'm proud to have said I visited it. Very cool. And here's the reverse of the 1869, very, very ornate with the geometric flowers there. This one instead was printed from the National Bank Company of New York. Them and the American Bank Company were the two biggest note printers of our time, or of their time during this, in the late 1800s, before the Bureau of Engraving took over. So separate or surrounding there the U.S. for the United States. And again, the legal tender clause there for counterfeiting. Pretty serious punishment. Actually, some of the older notes even say it's to counterfeit is death or something along those lines. So very, very cool. All right, moving on, the last of the legal tenders, $1 that have George Washington on it, is the legal tender here, 1923, the final year of, or the final series here, I should say, of the large notes, the large size notes. Their 1923 silver certificate looks very similar, except for the fact that it has a blue seal and serial number and stuff like that, and it doesn't say United States note, it says silver certificate, and then we'll pay the bearer $1 silver. But this one is, again, not backed by any metallurgic response, just specifically legal tender and a promise, which is what our fiat currency is to this day. These are expensive, man. These are double the prices of the silver certificate ones. Not a big printage of them, and they didn't circulate as much as well as the silver certificate horse blankets, so I think that might be one of the reasons why they're a little bit more pricey, but a cool note and needed for the legal tender series completion. Moving on to the silver certificates. This is one of my favorites. In 1896, $1 educational. The educational series is deemed to be most numismatists' favorite pieces of currency in general. The $1, the $2, and the $5 notes are all, within the top 15 or 10 of the 100 America's greatest notes ever printed. This one's nicknamed History Instructing Youth, with this allegorical lady figure here pointing over towards Washington, D.C. across the Potomac, with the monument there and the Capitol building in the background. You also have in front is the Constitution on the tablet there. A little bit of controversy. If you look closely in here, the word tranquility is spelled with one L. That was not well reserved or not well accepted when that came out. People said they misspelled it. However, there's evidence of the original Constitution that its spelling is actually with one L instead. And so the BEP ended up saying, hey, screw you. That's the way it's spelled. And they kept it. But again, a lot of space taken up here. And so people were concerned, believe it or not, with counterfeiting. And so they eventually switched to the 1899 series, which you'll see on the reverse and stuff. There's a lot more open space. Around the tops here are famous Americans. You get Lincoln, Irving. You can read the rest of them there. Their contributions to America in general. Such a fascinating note, man. Just so intricate. I absolutely love these educational series. The $2 and the $5 are very, very expensive in any grade, and this one is quite expensive as well, even in a lower grade like that, but very popular. The back in the 1923 legal tender is the cogwheel, and you can see there. And then the back of the 1896 is another amazing design we have here with George and Martha Washington. Again, some more controversy here. They said no one should be in between George and Martha during the time of printing this one, so kind of interesting. Got some little angels going around there on the corner. Just a fascinating reverse design here. So intricate. Really cool. All right, and then moving on, we're going to show you guys real quick the 1899 series. I had to complete the whole thing, even though this one is not part of the Washington set. As I started building the Washington set, which the $2 bill has them on it, I was very interested in the chief note, obviously, which you guys seen from my prior video, and I'll show you here in a second. I do own, but this one, the Black Eagle, is a very popular note amongst collectors in general. Super affordable. You can get a nice example of one for a couple $100. This one I think was like $160 or something like that, a VF 25. Has Black Eagle there in front of the Capitol building. You got Lincoln and Grant, and just like a really cool. I enjoy this 1899 silver certificate series. It's one of the more popular notes series to collect, and an easier typeset to put together. Super cool. To complement it is a $2 bill. This is deemed a mini porthole with George Washington. And this is the first one, like I said, I did pick up for the Washington portrait set. But then again, it eventually led me to getting that and the $5 chief note, which you'll see next. Super cool design. Very intricate. I love the big blue one, or the one up there, and the two down here. Just super, super cool. And as I mentioned on the 1896, how there are concerns about counterfeiting from the too much space being taken up. You guys can see here on the backs, they kind of cleared a lot of that up on the $1 and on the $2. Super neat. And then finally, the $5 chief note here, and I'll end this part 1 video with these and then finish the rest of the large size notes next. But this is, I've showed you guys this on the prior video. This is number 10 on the top 100 most popular notes of U.S. history, and just this note is fascinating. I mean, you can talk about it all day long, which I'm not going to do to make this video any longer, but such a cool piece, dude. This one's actually a meal note as well, as you can see designated up there, and what that has to do, I think I might have explained that on the other video, but essentially what it is that the back plates here, you can see from the lettering 1163 right there up in the top corner. It was a different backplate that they used for the front plate. It was not considered to be an error. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing knew what they were doing at the time. It was just they were getting rid of some of the old ones and adding in some of the new ones, and they had mismatched plates that were printing these things. So anyhow, that's the chief note, and that is part 1. I will continue on with part 2. Let me know what you guys think. If you're liking this so far, go ahead and give me a comment down below and tell me which one's your favorite. Silver Surfer out.